What's up, Worcester? This is Jacqueline from Women Strong Recovery and Wellness Coaching, and this is episode 3 of Crossroad Conversations. And I'm really excited about this episode because I have my friend Joel here from Boneyard Recovery, and this is special because this is someone that I used to run with. We come from high school times, and so this is 20 something years of, I think, storytelling and experience, but really the crossroad of how do we recover and how do we do it in community? How do we become change makers when sometimes all we know is the same thing over and over and over, and we have to break free of that. So today we're going to conversate, we're going to talk about it, we're going to open up the doors, and this is really an opportunity for folks that come from our situation that may have known us right here on this platform to break it wide open and say there's a different way to live, there's a different way to do things, and we are prime examples of doing that. So thank you so much for coming all the way out here to the Woo.
Thank you.
So we'll start off.
What's up?
We'll start with your company. I want to start with your nonprofit. What does that look like? And then we'll travel back a little bit and, think about those crossroads that actually got you to this. So just tell us about your nonprofit a little bit, the name of it, where you got the conception and everything.
Okay, so I'm Joel Brooks, founder of Boneyard Recovery. We're a trauma-informed fitness gym that's focused on recovery and mental health and getting guys back into the community. We do a lot of work with the teens and making sure that they're having the right equipment and tools to go through life to make sure that they're taking the right path, and we're just building a bigger brand and a bigger network to make sure that our community is striving in the right way. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff now, and we're really proud of our community that we're building.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm thinking about, now I said we go back to high school and what that experience was, and what do you think this is going to do for the youth? What do you hope to get out of it? Because what was your experience, maybe in high school that has prompted you to really focus also on the youth in this way?
Well, you know me as a kid, in the bad part about it is I was one of those kids that got expelled and got locked up at the age of 16 and 17 years old. So I've been through the whole process of being incarcerated, being around that kind of population where it's the bad influences, where it's I'm stuck with the guys that are selling drugs, that are sticking up guys, that are fighting, that are just in the bad direction for the youth. And it led me backwards so many years, just even trying to make up from my high school mess ups, So I just wish there was more opportunities like we're trying to build with the teen networks right now, of them having workshops and ulterior motives on probation, then straight going to jail and coming out to figure out how to maneuver and navigate as a grown person. So it's very big that we get the influences on these teens at a young age about drugs, sex, about even racial awareness, and being out there publicly to be comfortable and confident in their own skin instead of following the wave, trying to be fun, or coping skills on being high or drinking with the wrong crowd, because that's where they're stuck at. They need more outlets,
Yeah. And I feel that on another level, when you're thinking about what does it look like to see people in the community that are actually looking like you, representing you, and that have a story to share, right? So you have this shared experience that you can say, I've been there, I've done it, but I also represent you. I look like you, I talk like, you know, like there's these things that are shared. And I think that that's so important in being able to shape um the future, you know, the future youth in this idea that like, no, even though the story has been told or passed down for generations upon generations, because you know, like this is just not like, oh, I came here and I'm doing the thing. Like this is things we've seen over time and shaping that. And I know you have children, right? You
Yeah.
have teens and adults. So, you know, being
I
able
got
to see.
my little mixed babies, my little mixed babies, and I'm very big into being racially aware.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of people get the misconception of racism instead of just being aware of the surroundings that race comes into. Because, yeah, I'm a youth fitness coach right now. I do afternoon school sports, and I happen to do it in Westwood and Canton, and it's predominantly on the white era and the Asian era, and there's not that many blacks out there, but there's one black kid that's in my class out of all those classes. And to see that kid, to be able to see me as a black coach and to be able to smile and connect with that kid is a totally big step for the awareness that I'm talking about. And the same as being community wise, like the guys know me, you know, like, and the police, they've known me, you know, I'm not that hard to pick out. I'm black with dreadlocks, and I've moved with the wrong kind of crowd. So to be aware of what I was looked at to where I'm at now shows the bigger difference, to get that bigger recognition and appreciation for whatever they want to call it, reformed, growing up, manning up. But we're there now because it's not about the image no more. It's about the actual character, I believe. So as being a black man with two mulatto kids and nephews and nieces, it's a big thing for me to be that man role model for my last name and for what we stand for. So that's what we're doing.
And so we'll go back a little bit more because this is what you're building now. But what did it take to actually build this? What was that crossroad for you that, you know, you realized that this wasn't the route I wanted to go in? You talked a little bit about youth, you know, have spent time in jail and being expelled. What did that look like? Where did that take you? And what was that crossroad that actually had that awakening for you where you were like, oh, I need to do something different?
I'm one of those guys that has made multiple slip ups, you know, so it's came on multiple occasions where it's hard to explain the growing up process, but stuff has happened, and I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of people in my life, but the biggest thing turnaround for it was when I lost my older brother, and I lost him to drinking and driving. And it was surreal for me. It was surreal for my family, his two kids. And the only thing that he wanted me to do was to stop drinking. So I I was feeling bad and depressed, and I was overly drinking after he passed, to the point where I wasn't recognizing myself. My kids wasn't coming around. I moved back into town to get closer to my family, but in the end, I was pushing my family away. And I ended up homeless, and I was staying in my boy's basement, and it hit me that this is not what my brother would have wanted. This was probably breaking his heart more than anything. And his kids need me, my kids need me, my mother needs me, and this was no time for excuses or the pity parties. And I had to man up and put on my superhero cape and take on all of it by myself. I couldn't call on my big brother no more. So that right there changed my mindset to, instead of crying about the situation, looking to how to fix the situation. And we're moving forward, spreading like that's what people need to understand, that there is that light right there. You just need to understand it can happen. It can happen. You got to want it. You got to do it. It's on your time, but it's going to be the best decision that you make. So
Yeah.
let's use our conscious mind and do the right thing in all things.
Yeah.
And we'll make it.
So when you're saying conscious mind and you're saying like, you just basically had to pick up from your bootstrap, it sounds like, and like make a decision if you were going to choose life over death. What were those next steps in choosing to live versus, dying?
Well, when I was out on the streets, I was still drinking a lot. And one of my close buddies happened to lose his girlfriend around the same time I lost my brother. So we was drinking heavy together. And there was days that I wanted to stop drinking and he would try to stop drinking with me and he would have seizures. And when he had those seizures, that I have my CPR and AED, but to witness that firsthand, it was earth shaking. I don't want to lose my best friend either. Especially over not drinking. I didn't know nothing about DTs or anything like that. So I was getting the shakes when I was in that dark, cold basement and trying not to drink. So I made the decision I needed actual help. I needed to make sure that I checked myself into some kind of hospitalization to make sure that I didn't die, or have seizures like that. That would be the worst. And also, I needed to fix myself. I needed the right kind of help. So I checked myself in to a rehab.
Yeah.
And from there, that's where I went in for open mind, because I deserved a better life, because my kids deserved a better life. And my mother shouldn't have to bury two sons. So it became really personal. And that's how it should be for everybody when it comes to this.
Yeah.
It should be personal.
And I'm thinking back to when I went the first time. I went to my doctor's and I said, I have a drinking problem. Like, I cannot stop drinking. I'm sick. Like, I'm a daily drinker. I was 27 at the time, and I remember her looking me dead in my face and was like, just stop drinking. Excuse me. Then, the nurse practitioner, you could even see her baffled face in that. Like, okay, they gave me a paper, sent me next door, and was like, when I went to, they help you get into like, they have like IOPs or whatever. And I went and I told them my situation and they said, well, you need detox first. And they handed me a paper. So I felt like it was just this exchange of like, oh, thanks for like asking for help, but also like, here's a paper, go figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what that process looked like for you in finding detox. Because for me, I called like 4 places on that detox place, and they were like, yeah, call in the morning, click, oh, like, we'll put you on a list, click. And by the 4th one, I felt defeated. I was just like, I don't understand how I asked for help and I'm getting it felt like shut down, right? So then I went on like another whatever, how many months until I got sectioned. So what did that look like for you in making that decision? You already had it in your mind, like, I need hospitalization. How was that journey into getting detoxed? Was it readily available? Did you have to struggle in that? What did it look
It
like?
was so many ups and downs
Yeah.
to that. I to get me in to a program, I had a friend that happened to know a friend
Mm.
that worked into the STAR
Yeah.
program that referred me. I filled the paperwork out. Um, they gave me a date and it was available for me to get in like about 48 hours. And um, yeah, from that day when I checked myself in, I didn't have a drink anymore.
Mm.
But what happened to me now, this was all brand new to me going into actual detox because I've been on probation. I've been in situations where I've gotten my second OUI, and I just never been in the process of me having to go in by myself. So I get into the STAR program for about 3 weeks, and I guess that's like the ITP, the intensive care part. And um, before that, I've tried stopping drinking in my prior years, and like you said, my doctor, she gave me naltrexone, which was working to take the nerves off, but now I was just so far into it, like I wasn't taking the naltrexone. I was past that whole pre-part. I was needed stabilization. They gave me a bunch of different pills and stuff like that. And first off, whatever the doctors give to you, that's something I'm not suggesting doing what I did or anything, how it went. But yeah, they gave me like a ton of things that I wasn't used to taking. I didn't know if my doctor even signed off on me taking, but I went with the flow of that, and then 21 days came, and then they discharged me because my insurance company wasn't covering for me past the intensive part where I detoxed off of for the 21 days. So I still was homeless, and now for the first time I went into a rehab and I was kicked out. So and I was in Fall River. I was away from town. I didn't have much to go off of, So next step was to look for another place that I could get into, and a lot of emergency places, even the hospitals, wasn't going to take me unless I was intoxicated. And that wasn't going to help me to drink a couple of more bottles to start all over again back in my dark depression. So I waited 2 days and then I got into Worcester at the Washburn House.
Yeah.
So yeah, got into the Worcester Washburn House, and I guess I'm not sure about the CSSs or the TSSs of how it worked, but I knew I was transitioning to a longer treatment center. But when I was out here, I felt like the counselors wasn't on top of their job as much because now I was in this scare that I didn't want to stay, and then 21 days popped back up, and then my insurance company is going to kick me right back out on the street. So I'm having that edge on the top of my shoulder, like we still got to figure out what we're going to do. We still got to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And I'm going to the counselor, and I felt neglected on the counseling there. And eventually I got into North Cottage, the treatment center in Norton, closer to my house, closer to my mom. And they just had all the opportunities laid out there for a person that needed to re-enter into society. They had the RAF programs. They had the mass ability grants ready for you if you wanted to do the trainings. They had recovery coaches, recovery navigators. They had even memberships to get into the gym, for a cheaper price. And it was mind-boggling how I went from 3 different facilities to how all 3 of them worked. So
with North Cottage, explain a little bit about what that is, because I think that especially what I want to highlight here is that we have to understand, we have to take an account to where we come from. They're not talking about this. I didn't even know detoxes, halfway houses, CSSs, TSSs were a thing.
Yeah.
But I think as a Black man in the community, taking this crucial next step into recovery in your wellness journey, because now we're talking about wellness, we're talking about doing something different, we're talking about taking away the vices that we have only known our entire lives. So what is North Cottage? What is that setup? How do they navigate you through? What does that journey look like? What are the feelings that are coming up for you as you start to take away some of the things that were your safe blanket, right? Like drinking and being in the same neighborhood and kind of around the same people. Like, what does that look like as we start to strip away that blanket from you and navigate through a different journey and in this,
Well, for me, it was like a 3rd level for my personal journey to get through my recovery, to be back on my two standing feet. So what they showed me was the structure of the reentry process that would get me to having my own car, to having my own apartment, to navigating me to the right kind of recovery coaches or navigators if I needed any of that process. So it was more of a hub showing me like a actual community, because they had their intensive treatment part where it was you stayed for the first 30 days and you did so many workshops, and they would be like 3 or 4 workshops a day, but at the end of the day you're having a warm bed, you're getting to smoke cigarettes. Even that's like a little victory in any kind. Yeah. So you're sober now. So you're thinking with an actual clear head, and it became a safe zone. So then when you moved on to the sober house part, now you're able to get a job and to still be able to stay at the facility, but now you're being able to work and save a little bit of money, and you're having the navigation skills and people to help you if you need to get your social security card for work or if you need food stamps, and it was more of a bunch of guys being a brotherhood coming together to help each other to work in life. Yeah, it was the stigma and the label, but it felt more prideful, and that was the key thing that I thought everybody should know. Everybody should know that you live in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There's so many tricks and skills and things and entities that you can use to actually help you to get back in life. And there's a lot of people that care, and you don't have to do it the way everybody else has to do it. But this is the way you can do it. So
it's a route. And I think it, just thinking about my own personal experience, coming into recovery, going into a halfway house, I went through 2 very different experiences, very different setups, the way they worked. The second one for me, thank God, that setup, the way that it worked better for me. The way that it was structured, the way that they, implemented meetings and bringing you places. And, I tell people, when I came in, I was 90 pounds maybe soaking wet. They had to teach me, I needed to know how to eat again, eat properly, make my bed, take a shower, brush my, all of these things that we lose in our addiction, in our, in our sickness, we lose the ability to just show up and be just, this
Hmm.
normal human being. Like it's really, it
And
strip you down to that.
on that point, that's where like I believe where those three structures of me going through those levels was different, because with this STAR program, it was more clinical and on, you know, that part of what I needed medically to
Yeah.
make my bed at this certain time, to eat these certain foods, and to make sure that if they're checking my blood pressure for my heart and all the rest of that. And it's like, yeah, you need these certain steps to be a civilized human being. I know it sounds like common sense, and even on the recovery part, like the cliche things, these are the things in life, like we have to go back to square one again, so.
Yeah. And that could feel shameful, and like, oh my goodness, like, and I think that that would probably, and it probably does, hold people back from even trying to get help or knowing where to get help from. And that's why these conversations are crucial,
Mhm.
because I think that that's a lot of the reason why I've used my voice, my platform, like to say, like, it's not just to say to like everybody, but it's like the people that I grew up with, the people that I went to school with,
Mhm.
my family members, the people that I know for a fact are struggling and aren't understanding that there's more. So I, you know, appreciate you being able to be vulnerable and telling your truth and your story, and giving someone this opportunity to be like, this is for you too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and as we journey into what it looked like, now you come into this, this recovery home, and you're getting a couple months under your belt. You're like getting things back. You're probably putting on a little bit of weight, and like, your smile, your joy. I know you as always being like a joker, like very,
Yeah.
extrovert, like, which I'm sure, in your addiction, you probably lost a lot of that. So when do you start to like feel like, okay, like empowered to start doing things more than just working on yourself? Because now you have your own nonprofit, which is incredible. But what did that take for you to start to think like, what was that part, that crossroad of like, you must have felt, I don't know, for me, I know when I get an idea with something straight, like gets into my core, I'm like, I get so excited, and I'm like, I need to do this now, like that.
So,
So what did that look like for you, and like,
so, yeah,
Boneyard?
yeah. So I'm very, like you said, extrovert. So I got into North Cottage. One of the facilitators, supervisors of the first house was a black man.
Mm.
So me being jokey as I am, I got the black man running the house out here in the suburbs. First thing I said, but I'm saying it jokingly, but subconsciously, to me, that's a big thing
Yeah.
for me. Like whenever I see a man that's a black man from where I'm from, obviously he's from where I'm from. If he's, the guy at the drug place.
Yeah.
So I started noticing how recovery coaches was working and how the staff there was working, and I was asking those kind of questions like, can you get this job being on probation? Can you get this job having a record? And like, how much do you get paid doing this job? And that's when I was looking for trainings for the mass grant to get back into school. And I noticed that I didn't have to go all the way back to college to get my recovery coach certificate. So I got, I hopped on an accelerated program to get my recovery coach certificate. Meanwhile, while I'm still in this program, getting my own personal help. So now I'm learning their coping skills in their workshops doing my own personal workshop skills. So now I'm doing the double the work on my mental health and my personal skills that I needed. And I was already had the passion for personal training, especially on my own. And I wanted to own my own gym. And I was putting, like my personal inbox together. And I was realizing, like, yeah, like where this all stems from is me helping other people. So I jumped on the recovery coaching skill. I threw it with the personal training. My mind always stays racing. So then I was like, how can I make sure if I transfer this over that it's going to be my business? So then I went to further schooling to get a license for substance abuse counseling. And I went for my mental health aid for first aid certificate, and I got that. And I'm doing all this work while I'm in the safe haven of North Cottage and not worrying about my outside life, because luckily enough, thank God, I have a beautiful kid's mother that and two beautiful kids and a family that was able to hold down the situation while I was getting the help that I needed. And that was a beautiful thing that I needed. But in the end, it was coming up that time I was gonna have to get out on my own.
Yeah.
And I wanted a career. So we made it into Bears Boneyard nonprofit, and I started going out for grants and pitches and trying to figure out how we could gain revenue and pickup. And we actually won the E for All pitch contest. And that's when I knew that the message that I was sending out there was bigger than just my little circle and connection. Because the most beautiful thing all the time is when I communicate with my guys and they tell me they got a job. And they tell me that they're 11 months clean, like, great freaking job. Like, they went from not seeing their kids to seeing their kids every single weekend now, holding down a job. And it's not like they're telling a counselor or a probation officer. They're telling one of their boys that they could call up, text, Facebook message. And it's like, yeah, you need somebody to talk to because I need somebody to talk to right here. So I knew that no matter what, if I keep doing what we're doing and looking out for these kids and making sure that this community is strong, we can do it because that's where it's at. I started from riding my bike to the train station, hopping on the train station with my bike, getting off in Canton, riding my bike for 2 hours just to play dodgeball with the kids. And I love that. And I was going to school at the same time. And the biggest blessing of it all, I made all these decisions being sober in my recovery and helping the next person, not just focusing on what I was going to get on the end result. Because there's a difference between being on probation and having an end date when you could smoke weed again or drink again, and being in recovery and I don't have an end date. It's just I'm recovering every single day, and we're doing trauma fitness. I'm looking good every single day, and I'm proof that the black kid from the ghetto that was selling drugs and getting in trouble with the girls and all the rest of that is literally sitting right next to the same chief of probation officer coming up with team strategies to prevent these kids from getting in trouble and getting locked up in school and going to drugs or drinking. That's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful
It's
to me.
amazing. I'm getting emotional because I feel like it's just so like when you came in the door today, you know, it was like this full circle moment of like,
Yeah.
hey, like, you know, us being kids and just
Yeah.
being dumbasses, you know, and like
Yeah,
all the shit that we
like
went
we
through,
have
you know, it
funny
just
drinking
yeah,
stories and
but you know, this full circle moment of like, oh, you know, now look at this is a full circle like in your life that like you can give back and who reaps that? Who reaps the
mm,
benefit of that? Your kids, your family, your mother. You know, like it's just this trickle-in effect. And I know what that has done for me and my family. So I'm wondering, what does that look like while you're repairing the relationship with your kids and everything like that? How has this been able to help aid in that repair?
it's it's bittersweet. It's beautiful because like I have a close relationship with all of my kids now since my brother's gone. I don't say I have two kids, I have four kids. I have his older son and his 14-year-old niece, I mean daughter, my niece, and that's like my pride and joy, and it's so beautiful being that fatherly figure that she needs, you know, and that one that my nephew needs because they lost their man, you know. Like, yeah, I have my two kids, but there's something that drives me more and more each day to make sure that I'm there when she gets off the bus, you know. Like, she's 14, I'm already ready for her sweet 16. So,
Mm.
and my mother's a big part. That's my rock. She was my dad, my mom, my everything, you know? So she's getting older to be able to be there naturally for her and for the kids. It's what every man dreams of, you know? So it's like, who cares? I drive a little Camry.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I'm picking these kids up in a limo. You know what I'm saying? Like, compared to waking up in that cold basement, not knowing where I'm gonna use the bathroom or eat next, or definitely not seeing the kids smelling like tequila. So
Yeah.
that also is like what reminds me I'm not recovered from my drinking.
Mm.
I'm still recovering for them,
Yeah.
for me to be there for them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's something that like you're gonna take pride in understanding what you have right now and what you can lose. And what I lost was my brother. And when I lost Bear, my dog, a year after, for some reason that crushed me even more. That was my solid rock. That was my family. That was my best friend. That was, you know, that was my stronghold when I lost my brother. And then I lost that. So now I just have the gym and the things that I was taught from that brotherhood, you know? So that's the best place to be at right now,
Yeah.
I feel like. So
So is that where Boneyard
mhm.
Boneyard recovery comes from?
Yeah, Bear's Boneyard comes from me and the good old German Shepherd after I got out of jail for my second OUI, crashing into the sheriff's van because you know me, I'm a little eccentric. But it was a dark place, and it was just my brother took me in. He helped me get into college, and I stayed in the garage, but I was drinking at the time. And then I was really drinking and working out at the same time. And to me, I wasn't fooling nobody. I had to pick one or the other. And yeah, so then when I lost my dog, I lost my brother, and I'm sitting in that garage. Yeah, it was
Mm.
it was nothing but the memory of me, the dog, and the personal gym me and my brother built. So that's where Bear's Boneyard comes from.
Yeah. So it's like you're continuing
Yeah.
You know, his name, you're continuing his spirit.
Yeah.
And we know, I used to call him Skittles,
Yeah.
and he probably did not
Yeah.
appreciate that, but I remember always being like, Skittle.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's a beautiful way of remembering someone, and like this journey that you're building for you, your family, for, I can't even, like, I'm so excited to see how many lives that are going to be changed, and this
Yeah.
ripple effect that it's already happening,
It
but
is.
I mean, I just think about, like, I'm like, God, like, there's nothing more that you can be like, is like God's handprint in this, you know? And I just see that, and I can't wait to see this continual ripple effect of the
Yeah.
change. You just making that, you know, having that pivotal crossroads of like, I'm either going to stay in this basement, cold, hungry, and sick, or I'm going to get help,
Yeah.
you know? And so thank you for sharing in that. Thank you for coming in and being vulnerable in your story.
I went
These are the, yeah.
from I went from staying in a basement,
Hmm.
right? Being on probation, going to the courthouse, drinking, to now I'm on the Taunton Diversity Network doing stuff for the kids. I'm on the task force now. Like, and I'm in City Hall coming up for the Teen Summit for the kids. So let's just say that no matter where you are in life, everybody deserves better, and it's right there. And if you want to be a part of something great and beautiful, like, it's you. It's literally you, and everybody else sees it. So
I love that.
I,
So let us know where we can find you, how we can support you, what that looks like, and as we end this conversation.
so yeah, you can find me in the Taunton area. I'm actually coming up with a website. The kids is actually doing volunteer work, and it's going to be called bearsboneyardrecovery.org. We're creating a Facebook and an Instagram right now. It's going to be Bears Boneyard Recovery. So stay tuned, and if anything, you can get in contact with her, and I will leave you guys a link below.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Perfect. And again, thank you. This has been amazing. I can't wait to see
Thank
what else
you.
comes, you know.
You're doing beautiful work here. I'm so proud of you guys and the work you guys are doing there. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. So that's it for What's Up Worcester, Crossroad Conversations with Joel Brooks. And again, follow us, like, share, you know, tell us what you think. How are these conversations going? And, you know, we'd love to hear from you. These are real conversations, real people, about community engagement and all of the things that, you know, we need to start talking about. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.